On this Tuesday evening, we continue to track what is a very impressive Category 5 hurricane in the southeastern Gulf of Mexico. Its name, of course, is Milton. As of 7 p.m. Central Time on Tuesday evening, maximum winds are holding at 165 miles per hour, making it a Category 5 on the Saffir-Simpson scale. The minimum central pressure has fallen to 902 millibars, a sign of still maybe even a strengthening storm, but weakening is expected to begin as the system continues to make this northeasterly turn towards the central Florida peninsula. Current track keeps the system on a track towards the Tampa Bay area, but the latest track and some of the newer models suggesting that it may make landfall farther south of Tampa Bay. That would mean better news in terms of the storm surge threat, but there will still be significant winds with this. Very heavy rain, which will exacerbate a flood threat, and there will be some significant surge, especially for areas south of the landfall point, down towards Sarasota, Port Charlotte, Cape Coral, perhaps as far south as Fort Myers. That's if this forecast holds. Hurricane force winds expected across the entire peninsula. Our model keeps the landfall point also south of Tampa Bay, and with wind shear moving in, the structure is going to get disrupted, so the southern end of this will start falling apart. The northern end of this storm will still be very, very strong, and that's where we expect some of the higher rainfall totals from this system as it traverses the I-4 corridor and then exits the Florida peninsula. But the storm is going to be so large at that point that we are still going to be seeing surge impacts not only on the west coast but also the east coast as those winds wrap around to the onshore direction. And so you look at the Hurricane Center's peak storm surge potential, still upwards of 12 feet of surge, maybe even a little bit higher in some isolated spots closer or south of the landfall point on Florida's west coast. And then on the east coast, as we get that flow now rotating around Milton, that'll be coming onshore, that could push water from the Atlantic side onto the beaches. So Melbourne up to Palm Coast, Jacksonville, perhaps upwards of 3 to 6 feet of total surge inundation. Our local impacts from the system, not that impressive, thankfully. We're going to see a high threat of rip currents, and a high surf advisory remains in effect for the Alabama and northwest Florida coastline. We'll continue to keep track Milton as it makes its landfall. That will come late Wednesday into early Thursday on Florida's west coast.